the choleric, the melancholy, the phlegmatic. Now, these 4 temperaments, which we look at as the primary temperaments, these 4 primary temperaments, or the basics, they have a way of fighting themselves. That is the question you are asking. How can we harmonize these different temperaments to work for the gospel, to fellowship together, to be in the same roof? Yes, to be in the same church. Because a sanguine will always like to talk, that a phlegmatic will always like to tell this person to keep quiet. This one will be looking at this phlegmatic as, you are not saying anything. I've been the one talking. Won't you talk? Then this one will say, you are looking for my trouble. They will be challenging each other. Then the choleric, he may not talk too much, but if he has planned something, he want to achieve it. And he will fight anybody that want to block his way. This person that is choleric. He's sometimes the type they describe as a self-sufficient or being bossy. And sometimes they send themselves when nobody sends them to start leading people. That is his own wahala. So how are we going to look to harmonize these guys? Because a time will come when you see somebody that is a sanclo, a combined 2 of this, or 1 of this and this, or this and this, or this one and this. They call them, that time they call it a secondary temperament. But that's not what we are handling now. We are looking at how to make use of our temperaments to be in fellowship in the gospel. It helps in different places. By the way, before I go far, for those who are joining us for the first time, or for those who may not really know where we started, we said that temperament is what we are born with. It's quite different from character. Character is something that you learn. Have we ever heard of something they call apprenticeship? Apprenticeship, all right. When you go for apprenticeship, you are going to learn the character of that person. If it's a tailor, you are going to learn the way tailor people do tailoring work. That's why when you come out as a bad tailor, some people will be asking, who did you learn work from? They say, so person, no, so person, or if you go for the main up to know what about me. He reflects because you learn the character. My elder brother was a tailor before he died. He learned from such a person that when he see customer, he will hide under the table and tell them to tell the customer that he's not around. And when my brother finished and they free him, we've been handling issues of up till now, I never sold my clothes. You go there to learn character. Yeah, they will, as soon as I see them, tell them. You go to learn character, you are not learning temperament. Because temperament is inborn. Is Osinachi. There is a place in the Bible where they describe it as the hidden man of the spirit. Is inside. There's no way you can wash the person, remove temperament from him. You can only do what is called spirit control. Can only control the person by the Spirit of God. And as we go into this teaching, we'll get to know all of these things. Temperaments affect everything we do. In marriage, if you combine a sanguine, for instance, with a phlegmatic, just like I have explained, this person will like where in a room where there is music. Some will say he likes noise. But that person is just expressing himself. He likes to hear music. And the music must be loud. Then this one would like, even if there's going to be music, man, it should be cool music. Reduce, like people in the bank, because they say bank doesn't like to hear noise. Reduce it. Only you that will be asking for where this music is playing. You don't worry. He's listening to cool. Either if it's a Christian, a worship song. If it's not a Christian, he's looking for blues or other. So that is how they are. So when this one I want to play is the dim that will be touching the ceiling. This one will be say reduce that thing. See, that marriage, the two will be like, you are not allowing me to express myself. So that's why in temperament, you need to understand yourself before going into that marriage. Otherwise, one will be looking like he's inside this house, but he's not enjoying himself. Then he will be looking for how to go and express himself or herself outside. You see why some of them, you see, they stay long in the beer parlor, because if they goes back home, the wife is already seated on the seat of the on the throne now, waiting to judge the living and the dead. Where are you coming from? I said, welcome at the check. If he's not sleeping, he will maintain with the papa make outside, checking time. So these are very interesting that you know them. Now when you come to job, if they give you a job that is not good with your temperament, very soon they will fire you, because you won't perform creditably in that job. The one who gave you the job is just like putting a square peg in a round hole. You won't do well. But when you know your temperament, and the people who employ people know people's temperament, employ them based on their temperament, you see them doing very well. So it's like that in the ministry, in the gospel. If you are a pastor and you are good at evangelizing, some people who are good at evangelizing are not good at pulpit. So why not let the evangelist do the work of evangelist, bring people to the church, let the teacher of the gospel take them and ground them in the gospel. You see, that is why they call what we are saying partnership. You do your own part, me I do my own part, and the glory goes to the gospel of Christ. Are you getting it now? So temperament affects everything we do. The first person to talk about temperament is called hypocrites. He's the one to begin to say something about temperament. They call him hypocrites. Before Christ, so this man was already talking about temperament in the 4 BC. Then another man now came, a pastor. This one is still alive. They call him Tim Lahaye. He's an evangelist. He's the one in his book, Why You Act the Way You Do. He explained this sanguine, choleric, melancholy, phlegmatic, and even their secondary temperaments. So his book is what I'm using in what I'm teaching. So if you don't understand just as I've said, you will have challenges associating with the temperament the person is. Now, the importance of this teaching, there is no way we'll be teaching or gathering people here without having the importance or the reason why we gather them. One of the most important reasons why we are here talking about temperament is that it will help, if you know it, it will help you to analyze people's temperament and also analyze your own temperament and know how to relate with that person. If you analyze mommy's temperament wrongly, you will relate with her wrongly. Just like if you analyze my own wrongly, you will relate with me wrongly. You listen to how I talk fast, how I pick up ideas and just start talking. You think I'm a sanguine. Me that knows myself knows very well that I pray to be like them, because it would have helped me in teaching, it would have helped me in ministry. But there's no way I can change it. But I'm not a sanguine. And when people know, if I live here now, you meet me, you know, I will spend like 6 hours without talking with anybody, and I will not feel anything. But a sanguine cannot stay 1 hour here like this without anybody talking to him or her. He will walk out, or he begin to press phone, or begin to make call, fake call. Just somebody should talk to somebody. See them carry phone and begin to say, "Game we now have come mad." You know they call person. Even when there's no reason to come.
They will say. You don't care about
yes, nobody talk. You just want us to be talking. You want us to relate. So that is them. Me, at times you call me, I look at the time we have spent talking. We cut this call. I not cut it for you. Say thank you. Because it's like you are distracting other things I'm doing. But that is not my brother here. He will now pause and say, let's go. You were saying something before this call, but let's continue from where we started. It's not a bad thing. They are people-oriented people. Temperament. They just want to be expressing themselves with people. So that is it. If you analyze the person, you that knows this person need talk, you are the one to introduce the type of discussion. That is what I do. My wife talks. So when I want us to discuss, I introduce the type of discussion I want us to go into.
Like how?
She will be the one to feed me with the discussion. Sometimes we talk like till 3 a.m. We will not know. But when you allow the one that you don't really understand the person's temperament, he will be talking Ajambele, how they play Arsenal, Manchester, and me, I'm not interested. And he will be agree that he is talking to you and you are not saying anything. Yes, now how can he or she be talking and no response? Not as I'm talking and people are responding, it makes me to say more and also understand that people are listening to me. But when a sanguine brings idea, talking, and nobody is talking, I've seen a woman that talk till she start crying. Because the husband is not. I know of a pastor in Abia State. The wife can talk. In fact, it would, when you don't know, you say this woman is a talkative. But that is what the husband is enjoying. You'll be doing it and say, huh? Yeah, this one happened. He say, he clap like this, say, yeah. You would right here. Sit. She is already seated. Let's go. And you see these people that don't really understand each other. That's what happens when you analyze the temperament of the person and understand the person very well. If you don't understand the person, you call the person a talkative. Go. He's already saying, why are you people leaving me? Because we know you will talk ahead. So as time goes on, I will tell you where those things we call this one is a talkative work very well. Then the next reason why you need to learn this thing that we are learning here is how to direct your own temperament. If you know what is even called temperament, how temperament works in person, you will not know how to direct it. There are people who are nice guys when it comes to analysis or to describe person or to explain person, but they ended up wasting it. These people that have been very good in commentator, sports commentator, you see how they will analyze the ball Chelsea play with Arsenal in England, and he's here in Nigeria. And they are not paying this guy for anything. But if you now know what you are doing is nice and people are paid to do what you are doing, you know how to direct it. You know which side to direct it. So it's important that you know your temperament so that you know how to direct your temperament and not allow your temperament to direct you. Because so many people are being directed by their temperament. As soon as they just see something, they start talking. Okay, see this man when his temperament was directing him, Paul. He went ahead and be killing Christians in Jerusalem then. He picked this one. If he didn't kill you, he put you in prison. Nobody sent him. He just carried it on his shoulder. But when the Spirit of God controlled Paul's temperament, that same Paul that was picking Christians one after the today we'll go and pick in Amodian. Tomorrow we'll enter in Nubuku. I heard that there are people praying in Abagana. I will get them. Okwanecha. Next week their own. He was speaking them. This time he is now going there, right? Talking to them, explaining that Christ I was against, now I'm for the Christ. So you see Paul begin to write something like, if I die, is again. If I live, is again. In fact, I'm even confused whether to die or to live. The same Paul was saying that I'm no longer ashamed of the gospel. But before he was the one picking them and cutting off their head. You remember when he killed Stephen in Acts chapter 8? He was there. He was the one that at the end of that first chapter they say he gathered his clothes. May we see you next time when they preach about Christ again here. They can send themselves. So, but when the Spirit of God directed this Paul, he wrote 2/3 of the gospel. Yes, and all that me and you are reading, we are talking about Philippians chapter 1 verse 3 today. Is it not Paul that wrote it? He would have killed the people in the Philippians. But today, the letter he wrote to them is not in Anambra, we are reading it. So you'll be able to direct your temperament. Just like I said last week, that the sanguine people enter with their mouth open. They are looking for something to talk, and that talk is good. So if you, as a parent here, you gave birth to a child, and he'd always like to talk, don't kill him, don't close his mouth, don't kill that trait in him. I told us a story of a Mike Murdoch, who whenever he want to talk, the mother say, keep quiet. He will close his mouth and raise up his hand and say, just to say one thing, I will close the mouth. Till they got to know that he's an evangelist. And Mike began to talk in line of the gospel, and today Mike moves with the Spirit. Yes. Then, let's look at the sanguine temperament, this very people going now. We are going to take this temperament, analyze them. If you are in their line, you'll be able to know. At the end of the teaching, I will tell you the kind of job you can do very well as a sanguine. Then we'll take a little from choleric, then we'll be done with temperament. Okay? I don't really know what's my time now. Okay, I've exhausted 25 minutes. Okay, let's see how I will do it. Okay, I've said here that the sanguine people talks. Some call them talkative. So if there's any other thing you can remember, just remember that they talk. And I'm trying to let us know that is not a bad thing. If you are a sanguine, just know that you are good. In fact, we need your type. People like me that need somebody to talk to them need you. I've said it before. I need you. I'm the one that will tell you what you want us to be discussing, so that you will just open you. Tell me how this will happen. I like stories, and I'm not good at narrating stories. So I need somebody that will narrate stories of what happened. I will be, hey, that thing happened. And I'll be happy for that. So they are good at that. And if you are in their shoe, don't beat them and don't kill them. Now, there is another problem with the sanguine when it comes to buying things. If this cloth you wear, it catches their attention. They call it visual satisfaction. She will even like to buy it from you. If they go to shopping, they will buy till they may end up buying on credit. Some people look at them as a bad thing. And you are trying to cut that from them, you and her will have problem. Let her buy. So sometimes they may even buy what they don't need. And to return it is a problem. So that's why we're talking about how to know it so that it won't be the one directing you. You will know when you reach, this is what I want to buy, and this one I don't need it. And you, if the person is a married woman, she will not be having that problem with the husband that the one I just gave you yesterday has finished. Because she don't buy this one. This one. Now I don't want to mention the name of you. You know we are heading to. And you forget that I'm not eating. She saw somebody wearing it and I'm nice. He said, I will buy it when I go to a market. You forget that they have not taken care of this. So priority is not their problem, just to satisfy what that their eyes. So they call it visual satisfaction. Then another thing they do very well is because they talk, they attract people to themselves. So people mistaken them as this one is friendly. It doesn't take a sanguine anything to fool here with friends. But the same way, if he will just scatter them. He or she will just scatter. The same mat used to bring them the same way, he or she will just scatter them. So it's something we need to know. That's why I'm talking about if we learn this very well, we'll be able to direct it. Now that they have gathered them, how will I keep them? Should be your priority. How will I keep them well? So if I can't keep them, then I should look for someone who will now keep them for me. That is what we're talking about. Fellowship is also called partnership. You now partner with somebody who will keep the people you brought. As you brought them, this one is talking to them. You will sabi bring people. You're on your way again to go and bring others. You are pointing to them, go to living word. That's what is happening. I'm coming. What is it? Go. So he will talk to you. Don't talk. You the one you talk that brought them, you don't do. Because the more you talk, you may end up go off tangent. So this is why you need to know them. Then the sanguine also, they are enthusiastic. There is this.
Write it in the board.
The enthusiastic. The enthusiastic, Abi.
They are zealous in a more simple way.
Enthusiastic. Yeah. This is the spelling. Now, enthusiastic here, as soon as most of us, presently what is really going on now is network market. And as soon as you call for seminar, they are there. Then as soon as you explain how much somebody is going to make from that network, it doesn't take them anything to register. I just remember to use that today. Now, to keep with it, they will do the bell, move around telling people about it. If they do that up today, tomorrow, and nobody join them, and you're now going to go near a network. They are zealous, just like Daddy said, but it doesn't take much. The whole thing will flop. So if you are the husband or the wife of a sanguine and is telling you, I want to do this, I want to do that, some of you will be saying, oh, which one has he done? Or has she done? Now, if you are there and you notice this is what is happening to this person, make a plan on how to direct that his or her idea to fulfill it. In 2003, I remember when we were in Bible school in Abuja, during Abuja, then Pastor Dayo Lutayo, he said, that is why you are there to goodden him. That's the grammar you say. If you say he is no good or she is no good, you that is the spouse, that is why you are there to goodden that person. He say, even if it's not a good English, that is the only English you know that will suit this type of explanation. So that is why you are there to goodden that person. Don't hate him or her. He bring ideas that he doesn't complete. So you are there to help him or her do it well. That story, maybe we'll leave it. Then, the next thing I want us to look at also concerning the sanguine is that they sympathize with people. They feel people's pain. That's even one of the reasons why they make friends. They hear that you are not feeling fine, they will drop what they are doing to go and greet you. And when they reach there, it doesn't take them anything to start crying for you. Oh. Some will even say, how I wish that headache will come to me. Because you're too nice to us. Oh, mommy. Oh, he's holding you, he's crying. They say, did you know he say he's a friend in church? That's a friend like every other person. They make friends very easy. He's saying making be the one to suffer what the other one is suffering. But don't get them angry quickly. You will say, Opagi. If you sick again now, you will see my leg in your house. You remember when Peter, James, and John with Jesus, they went to the mountain of transfiguration and they saw Elijah, then Moses, and they appeared. Peter just began to talk. It's good they build house. It's good this one belongs to Jesus, this one belongs to Moses, this one will be our own. This one will belong to Elijah. He is that is talking. And he didn't mention his own. Will these three people live in the house and you will be at the main road moving around? It don't concern Peter. So they express for others more than they express for themselves. And they feel, that is where I say, it doesn't take the minute to say, make that headache come worry him. But make it give them the headache now, he don't run away. So that is how their matter is. Then, if there is any way they can control their mouth, sanguine people, they are the best. If I can, I'm not saying the others are no good, but these people are very nice. Look at when Peter and Christ and other apostles, Jesus said how he's going to be killed, or just explain to them so that when it will happen, they won't feel like we are not aware. Peter said, oh God, anybody that touch you, I will just kill the person. that same week, that same Peter left when Christ was already, if he's now they say he's on the hot seat. He went and started to warm himself. Is there, he was talking where he was warming himself, that some of them say that your mouth betrays you. Read it in the book of Matthew chapter 27. Matthew 27, verse 73. Sorry, Matthew 26, verse 73. So they know how to talk, and if they are not careful with their mouth will put them into trouble, because they can leave you when you need them most. They can leave you when you least expect. That is what happened to Peter. The same Peter that was saying, you remember when he was talking to Christ, he said, Christ asked a question, who do you people say I am? Some say you are a prophet, this one, some say you are Elijah, some say you are one of those that died and came back. Peter just voiced it out. And the answer he gave was the correct one. Christ said, the only Spirit of God will tell you this. Because you know the kind of person that is talking. He doesn't think, and he just voices. He says, this one only God will tell you. God. Thank God you got it correct. Rather than put hand for Peter. They clap for Peter. He read it down not up to 2 verses. Peter said something that Christ shouted to him, get out! Call him Satan! Are we getting how these people operate? Yes. As in on network, on bata. The network comes and they use glue. When you need the service, you know it. It's 0. So you see, he will kill everybody, but at the end of the day, he don't kill anybody. Now, look at that same Peter. When the Spirit began to control him. When you read the book of Acts of the Apostle, from 1, then if you reach verse 15, then you read the same Acts of the Apostle, chapter 2. He stood in the presence of 120 people. This time he's no more running away from Christ, whereby they are pointing and say, you are Peter. I say, no. I say, you are the Peter. I say, stop it. This time he stood before them because the Spirit of God has charged him. Yes. He spoke to 120. They received these tongues of fire on their head that led to them speaking in different languages. When the people attacked them, say, oh, they have taken alcohol. The same Peter confronted those ones along the road and said, they have not taken any drink. This time he is bold. The Spirit of God is controlling Peter. Peter can now do that speaker work that he was claiming to be. Now, when he finished talking to those ones, they said that 3,000 human beings gave their lives to Christ. Because they asked, with what you are saying now, God, we know you. What can we do now? Because fear entered them. With the word of God, they passed that fear, a kind of arrest. That fear, the word of God now made those people to give Peter attention. And from giving him attention, they asked that one question. Now, what can we do? You see, just give your life to Christ. Simple. It's okay. Let's be giving the life since Peter says so. 3,000 people submitted. They continued the next chapter. They mentioned 5,000 people. Till they now begin to say multitude.
They have charisma.
Till they begin to say cities now are joining. That's where Paul came and said, what is happening here? I will kill people. You mean all of this? Before we know it now, the whole country will give their life to Christ. That same Peter. That Christ said, get out. You are talking, not that you are the Satan or what. Satan has entered you and now going to use it and make it. Because if to say agree with Peter, me and you wouldn't have been talking about salvation today. All right. So let's bring it to we here in Nigeria. Examples of the people who have been who are sanguine, and how were they able to direct that their temperament to usefulness. If you want to do well in communication, look for these people. Information,
Yes.
look for these people. Did any of you know or heard of a man called Jerry Ghana?
Yes, yes.
He did Minister for
Yes,
Information and
yeah.
Communication 2 times under Obasanjo. Anybody heard of somebody called Frank Nweke Jr.? You know you are in the communication line. If Frank Nweke Jr. is addressing the public, he doesn't read it. I mean, he doesn't write it somewhere to read and you read it and tell the Nigerian reader. He talks to them the way it talks, which is very rare of most people with communities of information and communication today. Do you people do hear of somebody called Labaran Matthew? He was Minister for Information during Goodluck Jonathan. The same way, like me, Tegele, nothing. But when Labaran start talking, some people will say, are you sure this guy is an Hausa man? He's not a language people that you belong to. You can do nice in any language you come from. That is it. So if you notice this is what you belong to, work towards communication. You harness that your ability to talk with the people into that useful part, which is information, communication. You gather information, you communicate it very well. Do any one of us hear of somebody called Femi Fani-Kayode?
Yes, sir.
Do he talk or he not talk?
Too much.
And does it make sense or not? It make sense.
Reasons.
What of this man called Showore? Do you know before